Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Phantom Playhouse. The sky over the Isle of Wight was an oppressive grey, heavy clouds casting long shadows over the quaint villages and rolling hills. Holly Arnold glanced at the old playhouse standing in the heart of red, its Victorian facade looming like a stern guardian of secrets best left forgotten. The large wooden sign above the entrance read, "The Phantom Playhouse," its paint peeling and edges worn by years of neglect. Holly, a young and ambitious actress, had joined the local theatre company with high hopes. Despite its dilapidated state, the playhouse held a certain charm, a promise of grandeur from a bygone era. The company had decided to revive an infamous play titled The Cursed Masquerade, rumored to be haunted by a malevolent spirit. Dismissing the stories as mere folklore, the director, Martin Hughes, was determined to make this production a success. As Holly entered the auditorium for the first rehearsal, she was struck by an eerie stillness. Dust motes danced in the dim light filtering through the stained glass windows. The air smelled of decay and something else she couldn't quite place, something ancient and unsettling. "Welcome, everyone," Martin's voice boomed, breaking the silence. "This is our chance to put this theatre back on the map. Let's make history." The cast, a mix of seasoned actors and eager newcomers, shared nervous smiles. Holly took her place on the creaky stage, feeling a shiver run down her spine. The rehearsal began smoothly enough, with everyone falling into their roles. Holly played the lead, a noblewoman betrayed and murdered during a grand masquerade ball. As they rehearsed, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Strange occurrences started to plague the production. Lights flickered inexplicably, props went missing, and cold drafts swept through the auditorium, chilling everyone to the bone. The veteran actor playing the villain, David, swore he saw a figure in the wings, but when they checked, the area was empty. "Just nerves. This place has a lot of history, that's all." She began to hear whispers in the empty hallways, her name carried on a ghostly breeze. One night, as she rehearsed alone, she caught a glimpse of a woman in a tattered gown, her face a mask of sorrow and rage. The apparition vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving Holly breathless with fear. The haunting escalated. During a particularly intense scene, the chandelier above the stage swayed violently, its ancient chains groaning under the strain. The cast watched in horror as it crashed to the floor, narrowly missing Holly. Martin was forced to acknowledge that something was very wrong. "We need to get through this," he insisted. "The show must go on," as opening night approached. Actors were pushed, slapped, and scratched by unseen forces. Holly found herself at the center of the ghostly wrath. One evening, as she rehearsed her final monologue, a cold hand gripped her shoulder, and a voice hissed in her ear, "You must finish what we started." Terrified, Holly delved into the history of the Cursed Masquerade. She discovered that the play was written by a playwright named Eliza Harrow, who had died under mysterious circumstances during its first performance in 1876. Eliza had been in love with the lead actor, who betrayed her with the theatre owner's wife. In a fit of despair, she had cursed the play, vowing that its tragic end would mirror the fate of anyone who dared perform it. Determined to break the curse, Holly confronted the cast and crew. "We need to stop this. We're in danger." But Martin, desperate for success, "We're too far in. We'll take precautions, but we're not stopping." The theatre was packed, the audience oblivious to the horrors that had plagued the cast. As the play progressed, the hauntings intensified. Ghostly figures appeared on stage, merging with the actors in a grotesque dance of death. When Holly reached the climactic scene, she felt an icy presence envelop her. She struggled to deliver her lines as invisible hands tightened around her throat. The audience gasped, thinking it was all part of the act. As the final lines were spoken, a deafening silence fell over the theatre. Suddenly, the ghost of Eliza Harrow materialized before Holly, her eyes burning with vengeful fury. "You cannot escape." In that moment, Holly understood what needed to be done. Summoning all her courage, she broke character and addressed the apparition directly. "Eliza, we know your pain. We acknowledge your suffering. We're here to make amends." The ghost hesitated. The air grew still, and for a moment hope filled Holly's heart. But then, with a final, anguished scream, Eliza vanished, and the theater erupted in chaos. The stage collapsed, trapping the actors and audience in a maelstrom of fire and debris. Holly awoke in a hospital bed, her body battered and bruised. She was one of the few survivors. The playhouse was a smoldering ruin, its legacy of horror sealed forever. As she lay there, haunted by the memories, she realized that the curse had not been broken. Eliza's voice echoed in her mind, a chilling reminder that some stories are never meant to be told. And somewhere in the ruins of the Phantom Playhouse, the ghostly cast of the Cursed Masquerade awaited their next performance, their tragic tale destined to repeat until the end of time. The days following the tragedy were a blur for Holly. Reporters swarmed the hospital, eager for details about the catastrophe. Holly, overwhelmed by the barrage of questions and accusations, could barely speak about the horrors she had witnessed. The official explanation blamed faulty wiring for the fire, but those who had been there knew better. The surviving cast members whispered about the curse in hushed tones, their faces pale with fear. Determined to uncover the truth, Holly began to research the history of the Phantom Playhouse and its cursed play in earnest. She visited local archives, poring over old newspapers and records. The deeper she delved, the darker the story became. The playhouse had a long history of mysterious accidents and deaths, all linked to performances of the Cursed Masquerade. Actors had gone mad, crew members had disappeared, and strange apparitions had been reported by audience members. Every attempt to revive the play had ended in disaster, but the allure of its mystery kept drawing people back. One night, as Holly sat alone in her apartment, surrounded by stacks of yellowed papers, she came across a faded photograph. It showed Eliza Harrow standing in front of the playhouse, her eyes full of determination and sorrow. Holly felt a pang of empathy for the woman who had become a ghostly legend. A sudden knock at the door startled her. She opened it to find David, the actor who had played the villain, looking haggard and anxious. "We need to talk," he said, his voice trembling. "I've been having nightmares, Eliza. She's not finished with us." Holly nodded, letting him in. They talked late into the night, sharing their experiences and fears. David revealed that he had seen Eliza's ghost in his dreams, her eyes pleading for something he couldn't understand. "She wants us to finish what she started," Holly said, remembering the ghost's words during the final performance. "But what does that mean?" David pulled out an old journal he had found in the ruins of the playhouse. It belonged to Eliza, filled with cryptic notes and sketches. Together, they deciphered her final entries, which hinted at a ritual that could free her spirit. "It's risky," Holly said, her heart pounding. "But it might be our only chance." They gathered the surviving cast and crew, explaining their plan. Despite their terror, most agreed to help, driven by a desperate need for closure. They would perform the Cursed Masquerade one last time, following Eliza's instructions to break the curse. Rebuilding the playhouse was impossible, so they chose an abandoned barn on the outskirts of town. The atmosphere was perfect, eerie and isolated. They set up a makeshift stage, using salvaged props and costumes. The preparations felt like a funeral, each movement leaden with dread. On the night of the performance, a storm raged outside, the wind howling through the cracks in the barn walls. The small audience, consisting of friends and family, sat in tense silence. Holly, dressed in her character's gown, felt the weight of history pressing down on her. As the play began, the air grew cold. Shadows flickered at the edges of the stage, and Holly could feel Eliza's presence watching. The actors moved through their scenes with a sense of inevitability, the lines echoing with a strange resonance. When Holly reached the climactic scene, she felt the ghostly hand on her shoulder again, but this time she was prepared. She recited the lines from Eliza's journal, invoking the ritual's ancient words. The air crackled with energy, and a cold wind swept through the barn, extinguishing the lanterns. In the darkness, Eliza's ghost appeared, her form more solid than ever. Her eyes met Holly's, and for a moment there was a connection, a shared understanding. "Thank you," Eliza whispered. With a final mournful cry, the spirit began to dissipate. The barn shuddered, and the stage collapsed, but this time there was no fire. The actors and audience scrambled to safety, their fear giving way to relief. Holly stood in the wreckage, her heart racing. The curse was lifted, and Eliza was finally at peace. The Phantom Playhouse and its haunted legacy would be remembered, but its dark chapter was over. Months later, Holly returned to the site of the old playhouse. The ruins were overgrown with weeds, but the oppressive feeling that had once surrounded the place was gone. She placed a bouquet of flowers on the ground, a tribute to Eliza Harrow and all those who had suffered. As she walked away, she felt a sense of closure. The ghosts of the past had been laid to rest, and the future was hers to shape. But every now and then, when a wind whispered through the trees, Holly would think of the Phantom Playhouse and the story that had changed her life forever. And somewhere in the quiet corners of the Isle of Wight, the legend of the cursed masquerade lived on, a reminder of the power of stories and the spirits they sometimes awaken. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had a great day.